Steve Ritter here. How are you? Well, I figured I'd probably jump on the bandwagon just like everybody else is and share my thoughts on the whole coronavirus and everything that's going on right now. I am not a scientist, though I stayed awake mostly in college as a biology major. I got no scientific information or extra information or anything else. I just have some funny stories to tell you about this kind of thing. If you can, I guess you kind of laugh a little bit these days. First question, probably a lot of people have wondered about the beard, and I think my wife is trying to be cautious, so she seems to think that coronavirus might hide in my beard, so she asked me to shave. And every now and then I like to take a break anyway, but I don't know if you can tell, it's already starting to come back, so try to work on that. But no, I just with my training in the Air Force as a pilot, one of the things they were very careful of, or one of the things they taught us is always to be aware of your body and what's going on, because you don't want to fly sick as a pilot, 'cause with all the pressure changes and the up and down and everything else. Any kind of head colds or anything like that, if your head gets congested, you can get you can end up blowing an eardrum out. So I was always conscious of that and really paying attention to my body and what's going on and what's going on all around. So you pay attention to this kind of stuff when the flu comes around and everything else. And if you want to talk about social distancing, when somebody walks into a flying squadron coughing or sneezing, they're distanced, they're shunned, and basically told to go home because they don't want anybody else to get sick. And nobody wants to get sick, obviously. But learned a lot about that. And one of the things in survival training we learned over the years also is there's a lot out there that can get you, and a lot out there that can kill you. So, hearing that and knowing just how much is out there that can really mess you up, I guess it tends to. I don't know if I've become numb to it all, or if it's just understanding that it just you can't jump at every little thing, and that's kind of the way I look at it. I've had the flu a couple times in my life, 3 times I think. One time in particular, when I worked in Abu Dhabi back in 2015, I had it about as bad as I've had it, and it's awful, and I understand that. I certainly don't want it, but you take the normal precautions like they're saying, which I think is totally prudent, is keep your hands washed. Try not to touch your face, although I probably have several times during this video, but my hands are clean and I'm at home. So you just be careful of that, like walking through airports and putting your hands on rails. And when you really stop to think about that, it really, man, there's just all kind of ways that can get you. And I always joke with the kids that because they say that, they remark that, man, Daddy, you just never get sick. And I don't really. I'll get the sniffles for a couple days and then it's gone. And I joke with them, it's because I ate a lot of dirt clods when I was a kid. That's what I always joke with them about. And it builds up your immunity, which it does. And I don't know, but eating dirt does. But I think that was more of a mineral deficiency or something. But the more you're exposed to germs and nasty stuff out there, the more your body can deal with it. So anyway, that was one of the things, and then I started flying, and I flew all over the world as a C-17 pilot. So and we went all over the place, and one of the places that we went to in particular was Africa. And I went on one trip back in 1999, and we were 3 weeks flying we flew all the way around Africa. And in the planning before the mission, we were studying up on it, reading up on it. We were reading. There's a particular part in our prep work that we were doing of all the bad stuff that's out there that can get you. And Africa is a particularly nasty place. There's some nasty stuff out there that can get you. Of course, they probably say the same thing about here. Some of the stuff we have, and snakes and spiders and things like that. Anyway, in particular, I always remember that there is one particular fly that likes to come around to pools, like around water, and it's really a problem in swimming pools in this equatorial Africa, and particularly I believe it's on the west coast around Ghana and Ivory Coast and all that. Well, they'll come and these flies will land on the towels and lay eggs on the towels, and then the eggs they'll hatch on a wet towel, and of course you're laying on the towel and around the pool. And these worms, these larvae will burrow into your skin, and they live in your skin and incubate in there and everything else until they're ready to come out and become flies. It's kind of nasty thinking about it. And I remember reading that and was talking with a guy about it. He goes, "Yeah, he had a buddy that had that happen, and he came home, and it took a little while, but he like developed a rash, and he had a rash on him, and in this one spot, and." His wife's like, just go soak in the tub, and he goes in there. She comes in there to check on him, and she kind of freaked out because there was these like fine white hairs coming out of his arm, and it was these worms. This may have even been a different kind, but they pulled some of them out and took them in and had them looked at. So there's just nasty things all over the place that you got to watch out for. But do you live in fear? And do you let it keep you from living life? I mean, you just know that, hey, I don't know, when it's your time, I guess. I don't know. So I just learned over the years, and that as a commander, that I learned, that just things are never as bad as they seem, or you're being told, and they're never as good as you're being told either. So just a healthy skepticism is kind of the way I've kind of gone about life. But I was thinking, of course, we're not really hunkered down here. We get out and about, and but going around the grocery stores now, you go around like we went to Walmart yesterday to do a little shopping, and the shelves were just empty, and it's the normal. It's just panic buying, people buying stuff off the shelves, and they say that the supply chain's still going and all, and I believe it. It's just people are buying a whole lot more than they normally do, and the supply chain needs a little bit to catch up with the demand. And so people are hoarding all this food and everything else. How many packs of sandwich meat do you need? Well, apparently 2 more. So, it reminded me of one time in Germany. This was back in 2000, probably 12 or 13, and we were over in Stuttgart, Germany, and this was, I guess, right when The Walking Dead first came out and the whole zombie apocalypse thing and all. And, we were in that show just like everybody else until we weren't, until it just kind of lost interest in the show. Anywho, so my wife, this was summertime, and the wife was like, hey, we're going to take the kids, going to go back home and visit family and all. I still had to work, and I was going to take a little leave later, but I was going to stay behind at work, and so I was basically going to be home on my own for like a month. And I'm sitting there one day, and I'm just going, I need something to kind of keep my mind going, and of course I'm like a scientist. I like to think I am. Anyway, I'm sitting there one day going, what if the zombie apocalypse happened right now, and I had to survive? How long could I go with the food I have in the house right now, and not buy anything else, just stop right now? And how long could I go before I just couldn't stand it anymore? So that thus began the Ritter apocalypse diet, and famous Ritter apocalypse diet. So zombie apocalypse diet. So that's so I started from there, and I had some basic ground rules that I could only eat what I had in the house. So which I had to go to work, and I would pack my lunch. Well, I can only pack what I had in the house. No going out to eat. No, I'm out of this one thing, and I just make an exception and go buy that. So there was none of that. So only what was in the house, or what I could forage. And I say that because in Germany in the summertime, in the woods where we lived at the time around the house, raspberries were in season. So I'd take the dog out for a walk, and I'd go walking out in the woods and come across raspberry bushes. Well, I could do that, and I, pack those things in. And there weren't very many, but because they'd been picked over pretty good. But I could eat that, and so I quickly ran into I had to get to where I was improvising a little bit, because you kind of go through, and you have to. And I always used to do this with kids. We would go to a grocery store, and while mom's going, and we're kind of tagging along, and again, can we get this? No, so me and the kids, what we would do are the big box stores like Costco or whatever. We would always play that game where if we got locked in here, what would you do? How would you set up and survive? And it's kind of a fun little mental exercise, because you start, it's kind of, and that's me, the military planner and all, thinking about, okay, what do I need to do here? Where do you start with first? Well, you always start with the expendable stuff, the stuff that's has a shelf life. So that's kind of what I did in the house. I started with stuff that was in the fridge and kind of worked my way through. Of course, the freezer can wait, and then anything that's been opened or anything else. So you're checking shelf lives and all that stuff. And it was probably took me about 5 to 7 days, and pretty much everything out of the refrigerator was gone. And then you start working on the freezer and all of that, and then the canned stuff. And then I got to the point after a few weeks where it was getting a little tougher. And now I will say my wife is half Thai, so we always have a lot of rice. So we had a big tub of jasmine rice and a rice cooker. So you can things like that, rice or beans or things like that, can go forever. You can eat anything with them too. And I got to the point where I was getting like jars of turkey gravy and rice for dinner, and that's when I had that for dinner one night. I found a box of stuffing mix that we forgot to make for Thanksgiving or something. It was probably about 2 months expired, and it's one of those that are in the back of the shelf that you forget about, and I discovered there's some things that you can eat past the expiration date, and I was just fine after that. So I cooked that up. Of course, the guys at work that I work with thought, got the biggest kick out of it, except one guy's his wife felt so bad. So there was one breach of the rules, and I just attributed that to somebody emergency airlifted in a meal for me, because she sent her husband into work with the lunch for me one day, and she's like, "No, you tell him he will eat this or he'll answer me." So I'm like, okay, I had that for lunch one day. It was like a half a steak or something like that, so it was pretty good. It's nice after a couple of days of turkey gravy and rice. One of the other things too is cereal, like breakfast cereal. You can make a meal out of that, right? I mean, how many times have you had cereal for a meal? What if you don't have milk? And so, and that was the other thing that I had. Of course, I had the internet, and I had a lot of my Facebook friends were following me, and were just getting a big kick out of it. And I put the call out to them one day. I'm like, "Look, I have all this cereal, and I have no milk. What do I do? Give me some ideas." And this buddy of mine said, introduced me to a drink called horchata. And I'm like, what is that? And I Googled it and found it, and it's made with rice, and you put rice in a blender and some cinnamon and water, and you blend it up real fine, and it kind of comes out as it's a drink in Mexico, and it's actually pretty tasty, but it's like a really thin skim milk, and it was milk-like, and that's what I ate my cereal with. So shredded wheat with horchata. That worked out pretty good. So turns out rice, a lot of different uses for rice. So that was I went through about a month of doing that, and I just want to see if I can do it, and it's wonderful for if you're about ready to move or something. The Ritter Zombie Apocalypse diet works out great for cleaning the cabinets out and getting all that cleaned out. and it cleaned out. And my wife was she was getting ready to come home, and obviously that was going to have to end before she came, because she wasn't going to eat turkey gravy and rice for dinner, and so she's like, well, I'm like, well, I need to go to the commissary, or I need to go to the grocery store and get some food for you before you come home. What do you want me to pick up? And she says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll just, whatever. I'll go. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I said, there's nothing left. I ate everything out of the house. There was some stuff I don't know if I'd even eat if I was starving, but it was empty. I mean, I've literally the shelves are empty. There's nothing left, and so I lasted about a month on just the regular, how much you keep in the house. So you had to get inventive and everything else with what I cooked. But in the end, in that month, I think I lost 10 pounds on that. And I call it a diet. It wasn't trying to lose weight, but it kind of worked out that way, because you just kind of go, it's not, you can eat. I could go through a tub of ice cream like nobody's business, but turkey gravy and rice, for the third day, I mean, just can't eat a whole lot of that, So, and I want to say too that there was some danger of scurvy. I was thinking that maybe my teeth were getting a little loose. That may have just been me. Anyway, so I don't think it's that bad. I don't think everybody's going to have to go on the Ritter zombie apocalypse diet. The supply chains are fine, and I guess just be calm and trust that everything's going to work out, and just be a healthy skeptic with everything going on. It's never as bad as it seems, as you're being told. It's never as good as you're being told. So that's my thoughts anyway. So anyway, it's a couple of funny little stories, and I actually thought about dusting off the zombie. I'd look back now, and my wife's like, I don't know why you don't videotape that. That would have been pretty funny to go through. And I thought about maybe one of these days doing that again, just to see if I could do it, because it was pretty fun. It kept my mind going by myself, just me and the dog. So and that was not an option ever, by the way, before anybody asks. I was never, to eat the dog was never an option, so don't worry about that. So anyway, that's just my thoughts a little bit on what's going on now, and just a couple little funny stories. So anyway, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Over and out.